right now because Ernesto is coming up with his presentation on the community science application, citizens pond survey. I think it was a grad student, if I'm not mistaken, Madeline Aadnes from FGCU. And go ahead, Ernesto. Wait, there's more.
And Madeline is on the line, I see.
Is she? Okay, I didn't know if she joined in or not. Oh, I see it down there. Okay.
She did.
Excellent. Welcome. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to provide us members of the CAC an update with the Citizens Pond Survey tool, and how this connects is through public engagement. Pond Watch, I'm sure Ernesto will talk a little bit more about. It's been around for quite a while, probably 30 years or so now, and it's a great organization and citizen science. So go ahead, Ernesto. You're welcome to have the floor.
Thank you very much. In fact, I'm going to just introduce Madeline, but I want to first thank you, Harry, and then the rest of the people in the AC Citizen Advisory Committee. I wanted to thank because of your attention, and also the CHNEP for supporting us on this project. She will take up on, but I will introduce you to her. She's a student from the FGCU, Gulf Coast University, and she did 2 semesters in our internship program here at the County Hyacinth Control District. She works the lab, takes samples, and we saw this initiative from a citizen in our Pond Watch program, and we decided to use that and expand it a little more. So she will tell you a little more about that. There's 2 videos in this presentation, so when it comes to him, please activate the video when it's actually going to be playing. But I'm going to shut up and then pass it to Madeline, and it's all yours, Maddie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me and funding this project, obviously. Like Ernesto said, I'm a graduate student at Florida Gulf Coast University, hopefully graduating this summer. I have a basis in environmental education, so I really came to Ernesto with the idea of communication and interaction, but also having that lab experience that I was kind of lacking. So this project really combined the best of both worlds for me and what I like to do. If you would like to progress to the next slide. Okay, yes. An overview of this program, or the Pond Watch program, is the goal is to educate the community about the conditions of their stormwater ponds, understanding the different dynamics of the pond throughout their year, and then helping the residents with their management practices based off of the results that we get month to month. So next, yes. So these are, obviously we also work with the Water Atlas and send our yearly data collections to them to get uploaded. And then here's an example of what our Pond Watch sample collection days look like in the lab. We would next. Okay. Yes, this program has been around for 30 years, maybe a little bit more. 1993, I believe, is the year it started. And we have, I think, over 130 ponds that we sample. That is from the beginning. We still have ponds 1 and 4 from that first year. So that's really great that we are still engaging with the community for 30 plus years. This data really is superficial in the sense, not superficial, but in the sense that it's just the water quality data. So our goal was to see a bigger picture of what the entire pond is dealing with. So on our survey, we asked about the littoral zone and asked them to provide pictures. We asked about erosion levels and so on and so forth. Next. Oh, there we go. So this is whenever I presented to our, can you go back one? I'm so sorry. Thank you. So this is when I presented the survey tool to all of our pond watchers at our annual symposium in 2025. And they were very excited. Also, these people, they are so excited about to engage with us about their stormwater ponds. It's crazy. But they were really excited about this tool and had a lot of questions for me after. But I think it will be a very beneficial tool for our continued program. So the tool is to collect more data from the stormwater ponds that we don't necessarily collect right now. It uses the phone or the volunteer's phone to fill out the survey via Google Drive and Google Forms. So it provides an opportunity to communicate with the Pond Watch community, monitor changes. The goal is for this survey to be implemented 2 times a year, so during the wet and dry season. And then it will continue to keep historical records of the pond via like pictures, actual percentages of littoral zone coverage, algae coverage, and erosion levels. So additionally, this tool can be adapted to other counties and programs. As I made like a to document that is also one of the deliverables. I believe next. So this is the video that I made detailing the survey. Continue.
There is sound, so if you can unmute Serena or somebody who's working there, because she's narrating at this point. So
Okay, 1 second, let me try that again.
And if it doesn't, I'll narrate.
Yeah, if not, 'cause I'm not seeing the option.
okay,
I can narrate it.
good.
So here is the entrance form of the survey. So we're just asking for their name, the pond ID, which we have designated them, the date, time, and then the location and address is actually really important. So if you go into the compass on specifically an iPhone, you can copy the latitude and longitude and input that directly into our survey. This will allow us to connect it to a map, which I can explain later on. So here we're asking for the water level at the time of collection, the color of the water, type of algae, so filamentous, planktonic, or blue-green algae, or no algae present, which is what we'd like, and then algae cover. Again, the option to upload a photo. So here, asking about the aeration, so whether they have a fountain or a bubbler, or no aeration at all. And then the littoral zone. Here we have a little graph explaining the littoral shelf a little bit better, and then specifically asking about their vegetation. And then if they know the species or if they don't know the species, we can help identify based off of photos. Shoreline erosion, looking at not the grade, but the percent of the actual shoreline that is eroded. So here's showing how to upload a photo. It's fairly simple. Now, I did cut the time. It did take a couple of minutes for it to upload to my phone, but yes. Additionally, at the very end of the survey, there's an option for the participants to send their information back to themselves so that they can also keep their own records, which we know a lot of our pond watchers really love to do that. They keep their own Excel sheets of their annual data. We have a lot of retired scientists in our community that we engage with, and they really love having access to even more information. Okay, next. This is a QR code for our survey. Normally, if we were in person, I would probably have you guys take your phones out and start walking through the survey rather than showing the video. But since this is digital and I cannot troubleshoot for anybody, we use the video instead. Okay, so this is another video. I don't believe this one had any audio, but I can walk us through this one as well. So this is what it looks like on our end. So whenever we have our surveys filled out, this is the data that we collect. It gives us the name, pond ID, everything in our Google form, or Google Sheets, I should say. So at the very end, here's the images. So we have these images, and then with our latitude and longitude that we were provided, we're able to connect our images and our latitude and longitude to a Google map that is also going to be available for us to just have better explanations, or a more congregated way of showing our data. And the goal is for those who do upload photos, if they could take them in the same spots so that we could actually see progression throughout the year of the same angle, for the erosion mainly, just to see, and the littoral shelf as well, to see the progression over time and during wet versus dry season. I believe that is the end of that video. So next.
Correct. Yeah, you can go to the next slide.
There we go. So we also created a Google Sheet that has a detailed list of how to create the Google form, and how to upload photos to it. There's also photos depicting what areas on the Google form creation experience are important. So that is just another deliverable that we have for you guys. So this is just really detailing how to, if you don't already have a Google account for your program, how to create the account, and so on and so forth. Next. So again, we would really like to thank the Pond Watch volunteer Conrad Schultz and Carol Maradon from Spanish Wells in Bonita Springs. they are the ones who first brought this to our attention back in, I think, June. And then Ernesto was like, oh, I really want something like that for our program. And I was like, okay, I have experience with creating surveys and let's do this. So I was very thankful for them inspiring it, and then also Ernesto and you guys for allowing me the chance to create this thing. So thank you.
Okay, no item. However, I'd like to open the floor once again for discussion or questions. So let's see, we have here. I'll go with Jennifer first. Go
So
ahead.
Madeline, great job. And to you and Ernesto as well. But just wondered, so once you gather this data, what is the ongoing maintenance of like aggregating data, analyzing it? Who is going to take the data? I know they're individually able to capture their own data and keep it, but is County Hyacinth Control also utilizing this? And if so, how are they using it?
Correct.
Absolutely. You can
Well,
go for it, Ernesto.
I'm so excited because yes, the data will be located in their Google Drive, but then that gave me the eyes of sometimes because the volunteers right now, they just bring a sample and I run the analysis, the nutrients. So now we're going to have the visual of that place by having pictures and by locations of the things. I mean, and can keep it as a record because if they do some changes from year to year, they can actually go back again and see how bad it was and then how improve or vice versa. I also see the possibility for hurricanes and cases that something damaged. They can take some pictures and it can store it in this place. Yes, we will be the managers of that data, and they can also get access to copies of the, once they finish the survey, they can have that information sent to themselves via email so they can store it in their own.
Okay, Cheryl, I see you have your hand raised.
This is really exciting. I have a question, and back when I was on the policy committee for the estuary program, we talked a lot about filtration systems and grasses in the ponds. And I'm curious as to whether there is any data, or you're maybe thinking of collecting data of the difference when some of these ponds have grasses that help filtrate out some of the toxins, and maybe compare it to like what we see water only ponds.
Well, that is tasked to do because I also would like to start collecting and doing some data analysis where the littorals have been protected and versus the ponds that have no littorals, and just do that comparison just to validate the effectiveness of these littorals, and then use that as a proof for a lot of homeowners who are against littorals, and just present it. Okay, here's the because I don't have that big negativity on the littorals, but there's new ones who come, or new people who come from other places in the state, and then they don't want to see any plants around their pond.
And what's interesting also about this, which we also discussed a long time ago about the Everglades, is that when the Water Management District opened the gates to Lake O to, reduce level, all those toxins were going into the Everglades and killing, and also some of the outflow waters, and they were killing the dolphins and other life, and also the feeding. So there was a proposition at that time to try to purchase some of that sugar property that was being sold, and then use that as a filtration system. And it would be kind of a thing perhaps to piggyback off of that, because that's a huge issue right now. And to show, and so is the toxins and the red tide and everything. It would be kind of a tie-in for you, but that would be, what you just mentioned would be fantastic. It's a lot of work, so I get that, but I'm just thinking maybe it's something that you might want to think about, but you already have, so that's a good thing.
Okay, Caden, you have a question, comment?
Yes, having been an environmental educator for about 50 years, I'm glad to see we have young people coming along to take my place and all that kind of stuff. And I'd certainly like to thank Ernesto, who has always done a great job, but this is even better than the normal great job you do, Ernesto. Thank you.
Thank you, Caden. Hey, cheers to you too.
Caden, you're irreplaceable. Some pretty big shoes to fill, so don't go anywhere just yet.
Hey,
I
I hope it's not true.
I have a question too. I coordinate the Cape Coral Canal Watch volunteer program, which has been around for 30 years. So we completely stole the idea from Ernesto's Pond Watch since he predates us. But we've had volunteers say, because we have a paper data sheet that they fill out whenever they grab a sample, and I've had many requests saying this should be an app. But the sort of firewalls that we have within the city internet system, like our IT department's like it's done. So, did you have any challenges with the district with things like that? I mean, I'm assuming they submit their forms, through a Wi-Fi internet or email service, things like that. Is there any challenges like that?
No, yeah. Well, to be quite honest, the challenge is me. I'm not savvy enough to do the integration of all these new technology. And in fact, I'm so happy to have Madeline because she's also looking at the possibility of having everything electronic instead of paperwork that I still have. So you see, dinosaurs like me are kind of like old-fashioned paperwork and. Yeah, no, to move on to something else. So I 100%. And in fact, Madeline, do you have any ideas about this? If you have the chance, tell us.
So great question. And when we were initially starting the survey, I was using our sheet of paper that we hand the volunteers to fill out as a reference. So the water gauge, the pond ID, those initial questions are all on our physical form. So I do think that having a tool like this would be beneficial for the data collection, because right now, whenever the pond watchers fill out that form, really the only thing that we use that form for is to give them their data back. We don't actually look at the water quality or look at the water, the time of collection. We don't really even use the Secchi disk anymore for water clarity. So I think it is more beneficial having that in an online version where it's easier to look at rather than having 130 pages that you have to evaluate and be like, okay, this is water level at this pond. I feel like it's easier to look at that on an Excel sheet. But I definitely see the application for the Cape Coral River Watch.
And I watch.
Yeah.
I'll just have to pressure my IT department to work with me a little better, because I think that was the issue. They just didn't want Google Forms being submitted, just maybe a little bit more vetted. That's what I have to do. And Ernesto, I'm not going to give up my abacus either. Okay, so but we have young techs in here that can probably help me out with this stuff as well. So I'll just have to coordinate something. But Jennifer, I see you have a hand up.
I was only going to add that was part of the idea of funding this project from CH&EP's perspective, is that not only was this helping the Lee Pond Watch, and obviously we can't have send out this form to other communities, because then you guys would be getting data that is beyond your service area. But the idea was to create a template that could be replicated in other counties and other cities. And so I'm really excited to hear that, Harry, that you have an interest in that. And, if you can, hey, Lee County's using this Google form for blah, blah, blah. I know our IT in Charlotte County has softened, and we are now able to access and utilize Google Forms and get to Google Drives, which we weren't a year ago. So I feel like these things are as to realize how important these are, they figure out ways to make them secure, Yeah.
Well, department is getting more younger staff as well, more interested in stuff like this. But I agree. I mean, and that's the template. And if anybody in the group here has, can use for their organizations, by all means, it's definitely our Caton. I see you have your hand up again. Go ahead. Unless it's just up from earlier.
I don't know why it's up. I didn't.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So if there's any other questions or comments, we can move on.